Hey guys, it's Kylie, and I wanted to come on in here and I wanted to talk about something very personal. I went to the hospital a week ago because of my depression, and I just wanted to talk about what being there was like. So, first of all, when you go to the hospital like that I was at, you you go to the hospital, you sit in the waiting room, you fill out paperwork, and then a person will take you into this little intake area behind the, like, you open a door, and then behind the waiting room there's this little intake area, and what they will do is they will go over your psychological history, they will go over history of family members, they will go over what brought you there, and they will go over what medications you're on, your physical health, allergies. They will go and they will ask the doctor if they recommend that you stay inpatient, which means you're going to be staying in the hospital and living in the hospital for a week, getting treatment, or if they recommend you get outpatient treatment, which is going to see a therapist. So I was recommended for inpatient care because my depression was so high. So basically, what they do is you sit in that waiting room, that evaluation room, after you've signed all the paperwork and they've done your evaluation. You sit in there for like an hour, and then they let you color and play with poppets and stuff like that. But then when they're done, they have you go into this evaluation room where you it's not as bad as it sounds. There are no like cavity searches or anything like that, but they have you take your clothes off one by one so they can see if you have any self-harm scars, how many tattoos you have, if you have an infection that has nothing to do with self-harm, like lice. They will check your head for lice and bed bugs. They will check your skin to make sure that you don't have a contagious like skin condition. And as you're taking off these clothes and they're expecting you, they have a sheet that tells them where on the body to mark that you have these things and you're not in trouble for them. They just have you take it off so they can use it as a precaution. And as you take your clothes off, you put on hospital scrubs and their grippy socks so that you are in hospital appropriate attire. They will give you disposable underwear, they will give you a bra, and then they will give you the scrubs. And then they're gonna do, allergy information again, and then they're gonna do an EKG, which means they're gonna test your heart to see how well it's beating to make sure that you don't have a heart condition or anything like that. They're gonna weigh you, so they're gonna check out how much you weigh on a scale, and then they're gonna check your blood pressure and your oxygen levels as well. And then after you get all examined and stuff like that, the nurse takes you on a tour of the facility, and then she takes you to your room. So you have these big brown paper bags where I was at, and you to put all of the stuff you're gonna have while you're there. I was not allowed to bring anything like reborns, stuffed animals, chewy toys, my own water bottle, coloring books. I was not allowed to bring any of that, toiletries, none of it. They provide everything for you. So, like, as soon as I got there, I got a hygiene bucket. My name was put on it. It had towels, a thing of roll-on deodorant, lip balm that was in like a little packet you just tear off the top. And then I had this little tiny toothbrush that was like about this big, and you do this every day. I got that, and then I got a pair of earplugs so that I could block out noise when I slept. And then I got toothpaste. And every time when it was, so like, I didn't get to keep my hygiene bucket. I had to give it back to them when I was done with all the things in it, and I could only take a shower at designated times. During that designated time, they would give me little cups of shampoo and conditioner, that also worked as body wash. So we use the same thing for all of our hygienic purposes. Because I have cerebral palsy, they did give me a shower chair. I recommend, if you're going to a psychiatric facility, that if you have a physical disability, you make that known, because they will give you a shower chair, or at least they're supposed to. And that is really helpful. So I would take a shower. They had 3 hygiene times. They had the morning, the afternoon, and the nighttime. I always took it in the afternoon because it was easier, so I didn't have to miss breakfast, and so I could go down to the dining hall. But the first day I was there, I wasn't allowed to go anywhere off unit. I had to stay up in the unit. I would color. They provide coloring sheets, markers, crayons, and I would sit there and color. And I had to be seen by the psychiatric doctor to determine that I was not a violent person, that I wasn't going to try to escape the unit, and that I was able to comply with the rules. And then once I was told by that doctor, that I saw the doctor the next day after my first day, because you rarely ever see your doctor the first day. It was quite a while before I saw my doctor. So, like, when I saw him, he was like, okay, you're not a risk, so you can go down to the dining hall for breakfast and stuff. But the first day, I had my breakfast brought up to me, and it looked something like it was toast, a couple of hard-boiled eggs, milk, and not a whole lot. Like, it was just a thing of sunflower butter, which tastes like peanut butter, but it's free of the major allergens. That's what I got to eat for breakfast my first day in, because I was not able to go down to the unit. I'll be straight up honest, I put Tapatio in everything because the food is really bland. The food, for the most part, is really bland and dry, but it's hospital food. So the one thing that will apply to all hospitals is if you go in there, the food's going to be dry. You're going to have to make your allergies known ahead of time so that they have time to prep the food for you. In this case, I had to wear a green wristband that told them I had an allergy, and they would give me ulterior food. But I had to tell the doctor that in my intake interview for me to get that as an accommodation. And then I also did get a weighted blanket a couple days in, because they do have weighted blankets there for people who are on suicide risk, which I was. And so I was able to put that on and feel secure and stuff and take naps during the day. But they have groups that you have to go to be able to leave the hospital. So, like, groups that teach you how to manage your emotions, yoga class, art group that teaches you how to use art as a coping skill, different types of art. Like, I did one where there was tissue paper, and you rip it up and put it into whatever shape you like, and you pour Mod Podge over it. That was a way of me letting go of my anxiety. They teach you coping skills. It's not like an asylum where they just stick you in a room and they leave you there. They will give you art supplies. You will be able to do art classes. They teach you about stress in everyday life, where it comes from, and how to deal with it. They will have you write down like all the ways that you can cope with certain situations, and they will do groups like that all day long. They had a courtyard that was attached to the dining area, that we could go, if we finished our meal early, we could go outside there and sit with our cups of coffee and chit chat with each other. That was good. Basically, it was a very good facility, and most of the time, what they will do is, another thing to look out for is when you wake up in the morning, they're gonna they woke us up early. All mental health facilities that I've been to, they wake you up really early because they want to start the day early, and they're trying to tire you out by the end of day so that you're not wired and you're actually tired. So, like, they woke us up at 6 a.m. to get the vitals. And that means, like, blood pressure, and oxygen levels. And you don't even have to wake up. You just stick your arm out and let them put on the blood pressure cuff, and then they take your vitals, and then they leave the room, and they say you can go back to sleep until breakfast. Breakfast is at like 8 o'clock, where you get up, you go to line up by the nurses' station. They take you down to the dining hall. You go through the line like you would at a school cafeteria. There's fruit, there's cereal, there's the main breakfast course, there's chocolate milk, whole milk, juice. You don't get any carbonated drinks. So that's the thing I feel like is important to mention. So like if you go to a hospital like that, you're not going to find Mountain Dew. You're not going to find Dr. Pepper. You're going to find cranberry juice, orange juice, apple juice, maybe Powerade, maybe Hi-C lemonade or something like that. You are never going to find carbonated drinks. So just be prepared to give that up for a while. Those of you who have Circle bottles, you're not going to be able to take that in either. So basically, you get plain ass water the whole time. Unless they're serving a snack, like in the middle, so there'd be like 2 snack times. There'd be one in the afternoon and one at night, and that's when they would serve Crystal Light, which was raspberry flavored Crystal Light, peach tea, or lemonade or something like that, and you get that. And then one of them or 2 of them, you'd get coffee, and you could put cream and sugar in it. It was not fancy. It was not over the top. You were not allowed to bring your own food anywhere. You were not allowed to bring food into your room. You had to eat in the common areas. And you basically got your food in to-go boxes if you stayed on the unit. But, like, that's what you got. And then when you weren't, so the things that you were allowed to have when you weren't in group sessions, your family could bring you some personal clothing items and some paperback books. Every hospital is different, so if you know you're going to the hospital ahead of time, I would ask them about what their policies are. But even if you miss that and you end up in the hospital for mental health, you can still ask them to bring what they allow, and your family member can still bring that stuff to you if you choose. I had my mom bring paperback Goosebumps books for me to read while I was not in groups. They also had coloring sheets. I feel like that's an obvious one. But the hospital I was at would give you, so like if you went to all your groups and you participated, you answered questions, you spoke, you wrote stuff down, they would allow you to have a speaker, like a little small speaker, and there was a quiet room with a rocking chair that you could go into and listen to Pandora for an hour. I did that a lot. I listened to Melanie Martinez. Sue me, because I don't know what's going on with Melanie Martinez and Timothy Keller. I'm not a part of that, okay? I didn't even know that was going on. So I was listening to that, but I listened to other things. Like, you can listen to just about anything on Pandora that you want, and then that's your personal music time. Now, when you're not in groups and you're in the common areas, they will play music or TV, but everybody has to agree on it. So that quiet time to be able to, stim and, rock out and stuff was my personal time that I earned from going to groups. If you are autistic, you need to, and it doesn't matter if you have an official diagnosis. Tell the hospital when you're being admitted, because you will have to make time for stimming. If you have meltdowns, you want them to know what are some good coping skills so that they can help you. If you already have go-to coping skills, if you need a communication device, or an alternate method of communication, so like written communication, a communication device. If you go mute, you need to tell them these things, because then they're less likely to try to shove medication at you if you tell them these things, in my experience. When I went into the hospital, there was a section of my paperwork that said, okay, do you have learning disabilities? Do you prefer written instruction as opposed to spoken instruction? Do you need both? Do you need audio and visual? Do you require somebody to read stuff to you? That kind of thing. Deaf or blind, Any impairment that you may have, you write that down and they will give you accommodations for that. They will. Another tip I could give is just please be nice to staff. Be nice to the nurses, to the techs, to all staff, because it's not their fault that you're there. If you've told your therapist something about being suicidal, or you've told anybody that and they took you to the hospital, it's not the staff's fault that you're there. They're just there to keep you safe. They're not trying to be belittling or rude or mean. Every psych ward is different. So yes, there are psych wards where there are assholes, but there should always be, what I'll talk about in another video, is grievance complaints and how you file grievances if those people are like that. There is a grievance procedure for every psych hospital, whether you are voluntary or involuntary. And I will go over the difference in another video of being voluntary versus involuntary. I was voluntary. So, anyways, that's basically what a day would be like. We'd be going to groups all day, learning how to cope with our emotions, doing journaling projects.